And it's Falmouth, England playing host to that third round, and a town rather better known for larger craft. The huge dry docks have refitted the merchant navy for almost 100 years here. Cornwall, though, also boasts a great sailing tradition. Many of the world's greatest commercial schooners and ships of war sheltered and sometimes foundered here on the wild and unpredictable waters. Not today, though. Flat calm for the new warriors of the waves, racing in Class 2, 4 litre, 2 litre and 1.3 litre. And no longer the fear of running aground. These days, high-tech equipment includes satellite navigation, ensuring not only a safe passage, but an edge in navigation over those with traditional compasses. Nowadays, the sport is peppered with successful young businessmen, easy to display their entrepreneurial skills behind the wheel afloat, as well as in the city. Among them, John Miller, with his latest creation.
So is it built primarily as a 6-litre boat, then? It is a 6-litre boat, and it's built primarily for racing in the Middle East, really, to suit the sort of water conditions they have out there. And it's nice and sunny out there, which makes it more fun.
Certainly is. Well, now tell me, it looks pretty good. Does it go any good?
It's very fast. It's very early days yet. I mean, we've had propellers stolen and things like that, so we haven't done as much testing as we would have liked, because we waited for new propellers to arrive. The only few that we had left after the theft were no good at all.
Is there any part of its handling you don't like?
Yeah, into the wind it's got too much lift, so it snakes along a bit, but downwind it's very good, which is very unusual for a catamaran. So when everybody else is going flying along, we'll be going quite sedately, and then the other way around the other way.
Okay, you're saying it's very fast. What are we talking about in terms of speed?
We've seen 110 miles an hour on GPS, which for a boat that is, well, I mean, it hasn't done more than 5 hours in the water. That's a good starting point.
American Charles Burnett III is also an extremely successful businessman. His chain of Los Locos restaurants are acclaimed worldwide. And for him, it's a new boat for 1995, and for Falmouth, a new navigator.
No problem at all. I've already been out sort of 3 or 4 times in it, put a couple of hours on it, and we'll be going steady today. And there's still 4 races before there, so I'm sure we've got a lot of testing to do before then. We've got a number of things we want to try to improve the boat's capabilities in certain water conditions, and we'll be ready for it.
Looking forward to it?
Very much so.
Individually successful, both on and off the water, Mike Standring and Graham Peck, M9, now collectively prepare for Class 2 world honours. But it hasn't all been plain sailing, as Mike Standring explains.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. We made a bad choice on props, as you know, and today we've got the right props on, so I can't say we've got an excuse at the moment.
Now, you've had a few outings now to get used to the boat, and not too many left before the World Championship. You're going to be up and ready?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Well, I mean, we're very confident as a team. We know the boat works well. It's very, very quick. And, you know, we're saving everything for the World Championships.
Yeah, I mean, how important is that? I mean, it's the Class 2 Championship has eluded you in the past. I mean, is it a big thing?
It is the pinnacle. I mean, everybody wants to win the big one. And, of course, the World Championship is the ultimate. And, you know, the best you can do is win, you know, your class of World Championship. And that's exactly what we're going to have a go at.
The appearance of an all-girl crew in this male-dominated domain is always guaranteed to raise the odd eyebrow. But for Los Locos sponsor Debbie Cottrell and Sarah Bellamy, the butt stops right there.
Oh yeah, certainly. I mean, we're just as good as the men that race in 1.3 litre. I'm sure they'd say that too, but yes, we hope we've got a very good chance. We hope we're going to have a fast boat. We hope everything's going to go right on the day, nothing's going to break down. We're certainly going to have the right attitude to go out and win. So we're looking forward to it.
And from a voyage of maidens to a maiden voyage, Martin Mansbridge's aluminium masterpiece makes its debut here. But even following 2 years of careful planning, there's still a few bits to be sorted out.
We have got a few problems. Obviously, it's going to be a bit of a shakedown race for us, this one. It's the first outing. But we're having a bit of problem with getting the engine set up properly, and I think predominantly fuel. But we'll get there.
So tell me about the boat. It's made of aluminium, which is pretty unusual these days.
Yeah, not so many are using aluminium anymore, but with the minimum weights being brought up, you know, we feel that there's an option that we can have a bit of strength where it's needed, and also with the lightweight aluminium that's been used, we can keep very close to the minimum weights to make it competitive.
So you pays your money and takes your chance these days in offshore. Wood, fiberglass, composite, aluminium, even rubber. It's a free choice, and sometimes a gamble into the unknown. However, there's a growing feeling a big new image is about to explode. And that's something that hasn't escaped the notice of a former Class 1 star.
Well, Richard Carr, we're normally used to seeing you in a Class 1 powerboat. Here you are on something slightly different.
Oh, well, you know, I think what it is all to do with ego, isn't it?
OK, then, it's bikes at the moment. When are we going to see you back in the big boat?
Oh, I've never been away from bikes. I've always liked... I like anything that's powerful and noisy. Yeah, I think once it's in the blood, it's true. It's always there. Yes, next year I shall probably come back again, I think, yeah. However, I only want to race nationally. One, because of budget, and two, because I don't really enjoy travelling at weekends.
Now then, there's been a lot of talk about classes in this country. What's your view? How should offshore powerboat be facing this the problem of numbers?
I think there is no doubt that I think the proof is here that the sport needs looking at very, very closely. There are too many classes without any doubt, and I think that we need to focus on that point and to bring down and condense the sport into maybe 2 or 3 different classes. Then I think there'd be a lot more competition. I think the sport would be able to be packaged and probably marketed a lot better to sponsors. At the moment, it's very confusing. If you're an outsider from the sport, you really, really can't quite understand why one boat has got D written on it, another boat's got C written on it, and yet they're all in the same race. That's what needs to be done. There needs to be 2 or 3 classes, or maybe just 2 classes, and then there'd be real competition, and it'd be man against man, not money against money.
Now, there is talk of a Formula 6,000 offshore powerboat Super League 6,000, which would be 30, 32-foot boats, triple outboards as opposed to inboards. Big boat appeal. Does it appeal to you?
Yes, definitely. That's the way to go, and that's what I am interested in. I'm here this weekend solely actually to come and have a look at the boat that didn't arrive, because I want to see what there is here. There's a lot of new boats and some very interesting boats. There's a lot of new guys in the sport who seem to be really taking the bull by the horns. But what I am interested in is actually seeing the sport change direction and move away from being what was once, I think, an amateur sport for rich people into being a sport which is able to attract money and people come into it and actually compete, you know, as I say, man against man, not the budget against budget. I mean, it's an absolutely ridiculous situation where really the richest man wins. And I've spent a lot of money in this sport, as you well know. And I think that has got to change if the sport is to survive. If it doesn't change, I think the sport will diminish to nothing.
The thoughts of Richard Carr, then, constructively controversial as usual, but much wisdom in those words, many would say. Meanwhile, then, it's Class 2 and 4 litre ready to go, 130 miles ahead, and not so much the worry of the waters today, but the fear of mechanical failure. Flat out, foot to the floor all the way in these conditions, and that's the most punishing of all. And it's Burnett with the early break from Stoneman second, and Mansbridge moving up to take over that spot with M13 on this side. And this is powerful stuff again from the American. The boat built by Fabio Buzzi, specifically for the rougher conditions, has continually triumphed in the flat this year. And once again at around 100 miles per hour, he immediately opens the gap of around 300 metres now over Mansbridge, Stoneman and Miller on the right. Great shot of Falmouth there. And that's exactly how flat it is. We go back for the second start. 2 litre and 1.3 litre. 101.2 miles for the former. 76.59 miles for the latter. That's the target, and 2 quality fills here. Both governed by standard engines, no modifications allowed, so naturally it's pretty close. And that's the lead in 2 litre. Last year's runner-up, Robin Parsh and Tony Davis from Harrow. The 27-foot Campbell Wright Cat. Without luck this year, 2 races, 2 retirements. But this looks good. Overall now, and Burnett under threat here. Mansbridge has dropped back and Miller's Cat is ready to pounce. Doing exactly what he said it could, and the Americans with his hands full. This is Stoneman, 4th overall, leads 4 litre, and catches the wash of something odd there. Comes through it, keeps the power on, and remains in pursuit of Mansbridge. And there is Mansbridge, 3rd overall, and a pleasing first run out so far for the 33-foot Donoghue Cunningham Cat. There's Cliff Smith, that's number 25th, Standringham Peck, making up the top 6. And after 15 miles, just 83 seconds separating them. That's the battle for second place in 4 litre. Mort Mulvaney left of picture. Jeff Purvis centre. The Frenchman just had a picture on the right. Standard engines here again, remember, 2 XR2 Mercuries, producing around 200 horsepower each, and around 90 miles per hour here. And that's the 2.5-litre Mercuries of Miller, still chasing Burnett for Class 2 and overall honours. So, where's Burnett? Well, there he is. Leading B-Class up to 90 horsepower, Peter Wilson and John Moore in the Argo Cat. Third in the championship, and 15 points for the win would give them at least second, maybe even first. And perfect conditions there for the Tiny Cat. 4-litre leader here, Colin Stoneman and Mark Bridges. Maximum points from round 1 and 2. Also first and clear here. 1 minute 28 seconds is about 1 3/4 miles the lead. And there's the wash now ahead of Burnett. We're back with the leaders. Is it Miller? Well, it was Miller, in fact. Burnett is storming it here. Miller won't be amused by that. Obviously, Burnett wasn't either. With the tabs up, boat rocking from side to side, he retakes the lead. Leading the championship too by a clear 11 points from Cliff Smith, number 20. And a good debut here by co-driver Peter Dredge. They take the mark. It's 40 miles to go. Where's Miller? There's Miller. Round about 400 metres astern. So the advantage truly back with the American. Oh, and that's Mansbridge. Now then, he's on a roll. He was 2 to 3 miles back earlier on. He's gained 1.5 miles there on the leaders in the last 20 miles. And that's the reason. Standering and Peck, fuel load lightning, speed increasing, applying the pressure. Everyone now in the top division over 90 miles per hour. And the American once again with his hands full. But runaway stuff in 2-litre. Parrish and Davis have dominated it so far. Remember, no points in 95. They need this one. 1.3-litre, and it's time for Peter Wilson to soak up the pressure. That's Ian Cutler right behind. Well, he had it all his own way early, but not now. And the girls closing. Debbie Cottrell and Sarah Bellamy up to third. Fastest season for them. Oh, and look at this. Mansbridge still on that roll alongside Miller, and in fact going past Miller. So it's a winning combination at last for the Southampton man. But can he maintain it? Miller, I'll tell you, won't give in lightly. It's all beginning to tighten up in Class 2. And the same in 4-litre. This is the flying Frenchman, Yann Caderet. He's come from absolutely nowhere in the last 10 miles. And passes number 6, Jeff Purvis. Now then, I think that's the wash of Mark Mulvaney in second. 92 miles per hour, the ground speed on the helicopter here. And it is Mulvaney. Now then, can Caderet do the double? The man who's confined to a wheelchair following an accident. He's a brave man, and his foot's right on the throttle here. Surely he'll take second and go after Stoneman. And Caderet gambling. Goes for the flatter line. Mulvaney takes the direct route. That might be interesting. And the direct route here to maximum points for the American. A lap and a half to go and a massive lead. The rigid inflatable creation of Italian Fabio Buzzi. Really looking in great value here. Powered by an 1100 horsepower turbocharged C-Tech diesel. 104 miles per hour the speed, and that's Mansbridge out. Well, that burst that took him past Miller was too much for the boat. What a shame. Centre engine it looks to be, the cowling off there. He'll be disappointed. Back with 2-litre, C24, Trevor Burton, Terry Pittman. No points in the championship. This is 6. That would yield a comparative fistful of 3 if they can get through the next 20 miles. D19, Adam Younger and Alan Green, 4th in 4-litre in this race, 3rd in the championship, and a little bit to do here. 4 points would give them a total of 12. Mulvaney's 11 would give him 17. That's how they stand. Cliff Smith and Dave Tyrrell, 2nd only to Burnett in the league. This is now 3rd for 6 points, keeping him clear of Miller at the end of the day, if he can keep going. Miller, of course, joining the championship late. But into the last lap now, and Burnett has lapped most of the fleet. Only Miller left to offer what really is only token resistance. So what a good bet Burnett looks for Class 2 World Honours. As does Miller. Here he is for World 6-litre honours. Oh, one trouble here for Stoneman. He's dropping back. Mark Bridges standing in the back with 1 lap to go. Well, that's a considerable drop in speed. Now then, there's Caderet. He's got past Mulvaney. Still under full power. Approaches the start-finish line for the penultimate time. Crosses it now, and that's just 1 minute 5 seconds behind. 8.74 miles to go. Into their last lap, the girls, Debbie Cottrell and Sarah Bellamy, still a season's best, 3rd. But they're being chased hard. There they are, Pat Moen and Stefan Kondak, B47, and trouble in 4 litre for Jeff Purvis. His turn now to lose power. That's got to be one engine. And Adam Younger breathing down his neck. No such problems here, though. B14, Ian Cutler and Lawrence Bellamy were second in the table this morning, would go top if they get past Wilson. He's a half-mile ahead. This is Stoneman, 60 miles an hour, still in front in 4 litre just, because this is Carteret, 90 miles per hour. Just over a mile between them, 4 miles to go. A great shot there, the girls. They'll tell you it might be flat, but never easy. Charles Burnett and Peter Dredge, number 2 on the boat, number 1 on the track, averaging over 85 miles per hour. The nearest boat to them, almost 2 miles behind, and there it is, M4. John Miller and Adrian Jardine, just over 1 mile per hour slower. Mark Mulvaney and Dave Voice, D8, along with Jan Carteret, D7, still closing in on Stoneman. Less than 3 miles to go. And the finish line for 1.3, covering the lesser distance of 76.59 miles, and it's Peter Wilson and John Moore who get there first. Led almost from the start, average speed 52.81. Robin Parrish and Tony Davis win 2 litre, 102 miles, average speed 66.04. It's a third for the girls, averaging just over 50 miles per hour. That's good enough for championship, third now after 3 rounds. They'll be pleased with that. Well, it's 4 litre next, after their distance, 109.94, and it's Jan Carteret who wins after a quite remarkable performance. At the halfway point, it appeared he'd have to settle for 4th, but the Frenchman had other ideas. And Burnett comes home, having travelled the furthest, 134.55 miles, an average speed of almost 90 miles per hour, which means his top speed was around 110. He takes maximum points and increases his lead to the top to 18 over Cliff Smith. And John Miller there, M4, arriving in second. He'll be pretty pleased with that too, with the World Championship just around the corner. Time though now for a word with the winners.
Tell us about today's race quickly. I mean, it looked pretty easy out there, was it?
It was quite a flat race, and unfortunately we were down about 10 knots on our top speed, so our average wasn't what we'd hoped, but the boat flew, as you saw.
Yeah. Right, Peter Dredge, this is your first experience in the rubber boat with Charles, if I can put it that way. Is this boy world-winning material?
I have no doubt. Yeah, the last World Championship we went to, we took 2 races before we finished one, and then we won the 3rd race, so let's hope we can keep that up.
And so to the scoreboard and confirmation of Burnett's victory in 1 hour, 33 minutes, 33 seconds. Carteret's remarkable recovery to win 4 litre. Robin Parrish and Tony Davis's domination of 2 litre. And Ian Cutler and Lawrence Bellamy's first win of the year. Peter Wilson was disqualified for missing a mark.